Hi, everyone. We're going to start at 6 o'clock. Celebration Resident Owners Association Board and Board of Appeals meetings. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Was the meeting part of notice?
It was.
And we have form.
Yes.
Budget. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to comments first. So first we have Gary Hudspeth.
Meeting board, Gary Hudspeth, 1470 Resolute Street. A couple of things on the agenda and have to do with the appeals. The first item that you're going to talk about is as a paragraph that management is going to tell you the recommendation. The sentence reads, management is in agreement, but they don't say in agreement with the homeowner, ARC, or who. The other two items on your list, they specify what they're in agreement with. So please ask the question before you make a ruling, what are you in agreement with first? The second thing is, now that the appeals process and all the applications are part of the board book, I find it interesting that I want you to consider redacting homeowners' personal email and phone number. They're right there in public, and normally if I went to customer services, they wouldn't be able to give it to me. So I think that should be redacted. Personal information. And finally, in the management update, you're going to see something about the joint ARC and covenants meeting on the 9th of February. Please be aware that that meeting was held before all the homeowner comments were received. So because that sentence in the board book says we looked at several different design guidelines, they will all have to be reviewed again pending the resolution of all comments.
Thank you. Next we have Jose. Oh, sorry, you're here for the Board of Appeals, right?
Yes.
Okay, apologies. One second. Do we want to just have it go through it?
Do you have a comment beyond appeals?
Yeah.
Or
No, I think
It's about your appeal?
Yes.
So we'll get to that section.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to reconcile the list against, sorry, that's.
Okay.
All right, we have, the long view was for you, one, Jim Brown. 2293 Celebration Brothers.
Just an update on home sales. So far in 2026, we have had 89 homes exchange ownership, earning $336,000 in capital fees, which is actually on track with our 2026 budget. This compares to 69 homes and $286,000 in capital fees in the first 3 months last year. Part of the reason is that we are 20 homes higher than a year ago. It's 17 homes closed in Island Village Phase 2A so far, 2026. This has also helped keep the average sales price up because a lot of the other homes that have sold this year are condos, very low price. So that's been good. In Phase 2A, there's still 13 homes under contract that are going to be closing, and there remain 3 homes and 12 townhomes available. In addition, 10 homes are already under a contract in Phase 2B, which is moving forward very quickly. One common activity in the IB Fitness Center continues to increase as we had 3 personal trainers in there yesterday. So we need some help. Next question. I see the action item on the agenda for $36,000 for GM system infrastructure coming out of the capital fund. My understanding is this has not been presented to the IT committee. I think a joint meeting of the IT committee with finance committee with GM's IT department would be helpful in understanding what value this expenditure does for the residents of Celebration. And just to comment, GM's IT department was almost $30,000 over budget last year. So we really need to understand all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Or anyone online? All right, so is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion. I'll second.
Changes?
Um,
Go ahead.
I wanted to move, community standards and ARC appeals, directly following, item 3. So we do that next. Second.
Bill, did you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to move action item B off the agenda until reviewed by the technology committee and potentially a meeting with technology and finance.
So we're striking option B.
Yes, please.
Yes. I will amend or second.
Second.
What I did, Mark, I did one, I did the others.
I did welcome Mr. Tuttle, by the way. Thank you. Anything you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to move D to A. As we had Jeffrey in the house.
Item D.
Okay.
I would like to move consent item D to action items. And
Sent item D to action item.
yes,
I will amend my motion for all of those amendments.
Great. Anything else? Great. All in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Please. Okay, so we are in ARCG. So let's start, or excuse me, community standards and ARCs. The first one's 143 Longview. And,
So there's consent.
to consent
oh,
items.
two consent apologies. Yes, sorry, this is a whole. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent items 1 and 2?
I motion for consent approval.
Second. Yes.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now 143 Longview. So, want to give an overview of the appeal?
Yes, getting to 143.
Sure.
143 Longview Avenue. ARC was received in February. Application for security device above the garage door was submitted. ARC denied. An appeal form was submitted February 23rd. Homeowners requesting to reconsider the decision, requesting to replace the device on the garage facing State Route 417. Management is in agreement with the design guidelines from ARC with the placement of the camera and the lights.
Hello.
Hi, Greg Nemeth, LE. We want the approval because we're concerned about traffic and people walking at night in the alley. And we're very concerned about someone who's not good, that shouldn't be there. And as you can see, I can't get out and say anything to someone. My wife is not on super life. I'll say,
There's a fence in between 417 and the houses. There are no houses behind us. It's very dark back there. Animals roam back there. We have seen people walking that do not belong at times. There's a lot of issues. And the neighbors, there is nothing that a light camera or anything would impede anybody. In fact, they probably like it because it would go off when they came by to go in their garages and everything too. So I mean, it's really like dark, and there's only 2 of the lights from Celebration back there, and it is really dark. And we have seen other people that do that. Not on our part of the road, but I'm sure, everybody.
you've already approved one that I know.
So it's like, we don't understand. I mean, I can understand there's houses around and everything that would bother them, but it's 417. And it's very, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of things that can go on. And we're just really concerned.
Is this anything that we're
looking to update the new design guidelines at all, or not really?
Not really.
This is more of a one.
He just came out with the request for people with experience to provide input for the lights. the
Like
camera.
security and
Yeah.
everything. That's right.
And so I don't know if you're planning on changing your codes.
What was the reason for the rejection?
Yeah, we don't know.
It's the floodlights.
The intention was I can't have a floodlight on my garage. That was it. And there was some confusion back and forth about what they actually could meant by floodlights. They mean any light. Any light.
But it's just a sensor and it's just for motion and stuff too, and then the camera will capture anything if something is.
And it only comes on if necessary. It's off most of the
Yeah.
Sure. Bill, do you mind if I pop it? Please,
You're right.
yeah, so can you jump to the garage picture? Maureen? So the ARC denial is, it's less about the camera and more about the floodlight, because it states right in the design guidelines, no floodlights. They don't like that. Yes, there are floodlights installed on homes in Celebration. Yes, they have been improved way in the past. This isn't something that the most recent committee has approved of a bunch of. The exception to that is the specific ring branded cameras similar to this one, that's not a floodlight style, that has the lights that are kind of integrated into the camera. That's still a little bit of a gray area because they don't like that as much, but the design guidelines state just no floodlight.
But if you drive down there, it's just like, it's very dark. And it is, like I said, there's not enough lighting on the whole road. We have a dog that he takes out in his wheelchair every night and everything. And it's scary because sometimes, and there's a lot of, every once in a while, people are just driving around back there and they really shouldn't, because it's like an alley and it should be for just the homes for the garages and everything. But like, and coyotes and everything that's, been coming from, other areas and stuff, it's very scary.
And please understand, the light that I know about is the normal kind of light that I'm talking about. It has two lights as part of the camera, not around the camera, but floodlights. And that's really the kind of thing I'm going to install.
Yeah, it's not very big.
I'm all about consistency and how we interpret rules, but I'm also about compassion and trying to just do the right thing. And I think we should approve this and on.
So the question that I'll give the ARC diplomatic response, which by the way, I'm not on the ARC liaison anymore. So I'm just through this vote a few times. The response that would be given is, in order to increase light in the area, they would want an architectural light, not a floodlight. So in other words, either a larger coach lamp or another coach lamp involved.
You understand, to buy a light with the camera, you're stuck with the kind of light that they use. Okay, they're LED. I can't change them. We say if it ever breaks down, and you have to replace it. So
At the same time, the camera sees in the dark with infrared. So you don't need the lights to actually see cars or animals and things going behind. So the lights aren't integral.
I know
Right,
that.
but it's a deter some of that too, so.
It doesn't make someone. See you. I have a camera. I could fit anything on up for my garage. It says it's a camera. It's not look anything. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, we have a ring camera that's on a front door, but we keep our front door lights and everything on all night too, just in case, because there are a lot of
Sure.
things that happen in North Burlington.
So the one thing that I couldn't tell in the appeal documentation is in here, where is it specifically proposed to go? Is it, Dave, is it where you're, or,
Whoops, let's go get that.
that's all right, here.
I can't quite read.
Here.
You're looking
Right about that.
So you're looking up here, okay, so an idea, so the other reason is typically it gets into a little bit of a gray area, because ARC would want the camera to be more discreet. So they would want it to either be under an eave of some kind, to be able to put those in.
They don't recommend under the,
Who doesn't recommend under the
the
eave?
manufacturer of the ring.
Oh, no, I know what Ring says, and so, but I'm saying what ARC's opinion is they want it to be more discreet. So what you're asking for here is to place it in the center of the garage door area here, right? About down here, is right?
Or, roads up.
Okay. Okay, and then for that, it would be mounted through the wall, so there would be no exposed wiring or conduit, you know, in that case. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I know how much they're gonna charge me for that.
And that's up to 417, so there's nobody behind.
No.
I would concur with Charles. Let's think about the compassion. I would vote for the.
Well, I forgot to mention is you'll see the other light on the side of the garage. That's controlled by the tent, not by us. The light switch
Yeah,
for
it's
that
very, it's
is
not very.
on the tent,
Yeah, we.
tent side of the garage.
So
And
is
she's an
someone,
elderly lady too and would welcome more lights. She spoke it tonight as well.
so would someone like to make a motion on this? Cause to me, this feels reasonable. Feels like something you should do, and it feels like it's defensible.
I make a motion to approve the variance. Can we move that for the corner of the garage instead of the? Like on the roof, like the right part of the garage, the corner. That's.
Oh, to put the.
That's not
It was,
It's not symmetrical.
it's placed there according to the person who's going to install it. Because he's got to find a place to get electric from.
Sure.
And they're right in the middle. She's going to get her electrical from the tenants. Walls to the plants.
So Don made a motion, there's no second.
we have a second, yeah.
But I would like to make a different opposing motion, Don. That we vote to approve the variance with the following stipulations. The stipulations state that we would reiterate, there's no exposed wiring or conduit in the area. And that the light be directed only to the property itself and not reflecting onto a neighboring property or adjacent property as well.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the variance, reiterate no exposed wirings in the conduit, and then like reflect only on their property. We have a second for Katie. All right, all in favor? Opposed?
No,
You're opposed.
I'm opposed. I think a camera up under the eave is sufficient for security.
Well, where are you going to get electric from?
You can get electric from either side of it. All right, well, it's possible. You've got conduit, so you're just saying. No, we're good. Thank you both so much. Yeah, you're welcome.
Do I have to wait for you to send me a letter or?
As long as you're compliant with what we just talked about, then
You're good to go.
We're good to go.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, 1886 Treasure Cove. Yeah, Jose, apologies about that. New process. All right, so what? This is the fence. This is the fence, all right.
ARC submitted to install a 6-foot fence, PVC fence alongside a rear facing yard. Homeowner is requesting the installation of a white PVC privacy fence featuring a 4-foot solid base topped with a 2-foot lattice design consistent with the architectural designs guidelines of Celebration ARC. The fence will be placed within the setbacks and will fully comply with the ARC regulations regarding materials and placement. Does the board want me to skip to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ARC was denied. ARC committee reviewed the application and chose to deny requests for the following reasons. Side yard fence would be in a 5-foot utility easement for this lot. The lot has a UE on both rear and side lot 5 feet. Side yard fence would be installed within 1 foot of the alley streetlight. Side yard and rear fence intersection will cause a blind spot corner for rear alley and side alley. This will be a blind spot for both vehicles and pedestrians. Homeowner disagrees with the decision and requests for reconsideration. Management recommendation is in agreement with ARC based on the guidance noted in A. Consideration can be given if resubmission of the ARC to show that the fence lattice can be seen through and it's not going to cause a blind spot, and the fence is not going to be on utility easement. That's where management will support research.
You want to? Any comments or anything with that, just around,
Were you
what you're
familiar?
looking for?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, were you familiar with the consideration that management just presented in regards to how to change the approach to the fence?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the same thing that my neighbors have. So they have the same thing, like the same setbacks, everything. I took more pictures showing, proving that no blind spots will be like created by my fence. So that's why I'm trying to get this fence for like 3 years. And now it was my first appeal. For the first time, they sent me an option to make a fence with 3-foot aluminum black. So my house, there's nothing about aluminum, even black. So I don't know why they're trying to do something like this, but like for the setback, normally in the alley, they ask for 5 feet. I put 10 because I don't want to get like close to the alley. And
Can you go to the plot? The site plan, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit of a, sorry, Bill.
Go for it.
This is a little bit of a unique situation because you have the advantage of being on a corner. So the catch is though, is that it's not side by side next to someone else. So I know in the notes that you had submitted, it was the property line. In that case, typically, yes, they will allow either on the property line, on the shared line, or 2 feet in from that property line. In this case, there's actually not a property line for that definition because it's the alley that wraps around the corner. So in this, the fence itself, and on here, the 5 feet in from the alleyway essentially puts the lamp that's there on there. Are you trying to put the lamp on the outside of the fence, like ending the fence before that part?
for sure.
Okay. And then the original application on this one, the concern was that it was going to be too close to the corner part of the alley, right? The outlet. So on this, the management recommendation to pull that fence in, so it would be 5 feet essentially from the alleyway throughout. Is that something you're amenable to?
Yeah, it's possible to do that.
Was that part communicated?
So my recommendation here is was to the board, yes, not, he was denied for it.
So can we reiterate that and see if that will work then? What your recommendation,
So I think the sticky part
the
was,
consideration.
yeah, how do we want to do this? Because we're appealing the situation, but we could add I'm just trying to prevent this from going back to ARC if we
You can
can.
approve variance with those.
With those stipulations?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve the variance with the following stipulations.
Yeah.
That,
You say something?
yeah,
I live on that alley.
okay,
It is very dangerous.
it's a tight corner.
Yes, and even with his garbage cans and his car parked sideways, as you come in, it's very difficult to see. With motorized bikes, motorized scooters, you can't see any of those things coming. So you gotta go like 2 miles an hour around that curve because there's another entryway, and obviously it's a long way.
It's because that alley's two-way.
Yeah.
Yes, two-way, yeah. It goes straight from the other way, and then there's that quick turn. That is where he lives.
Can you go back to the site plan again? Sorry.
There's pictures of curves.
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's.
Where's the land is here, right?
Yeah, I have pictures here.
Can we see where management recommends, like on that? Or the consideration given?
It would essentially be the red line.
Okay,
It's gonna look the same.
Mhm.
It would just be.
And from here, we can't see this fence. It's impossible. to see.
Right. And I think that's the concern. When you get to that corner and then you.
I know, but
around-
what is the difference if we have like a?
So from here, from here, I'm looking, can you go, there's a picture showing the garage, like a real picture of the garage. So, yeah, that'll work. So here, the fence would end, are you lining it up with the end of this?
Yes, it's
here?
going to be like close here. To here.
And then it would lead to the end of the garage.
Yeah, no, not here.
yes, that's not
Only
much
here.
farther than. the-
Just this portion.
So this would be greater than 5 feet back from the
10
alley.
feet.
It would be like a 10 foot.
Yeah.
But it's like 6 feet tall. What's the difference?
Okay.
So if we approve with the consideration of the variance, can your consideration be communicated to the homeowner? On what was,
On the decision letter.
yes. Mm-hmm. Like the specs.
Are we re-inspecting right now?
Yeah.
Once, so like, is this something we would go back out?
We will go back out and see, but as far as, I would request the resubmission from the fence company
Okay.
to show the
Okay.
placement of what we're approving.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, I think that would be.
And that'll hold it accountable with the file.
okay. So how do we state on that?
So Eric had a motion to approve with the stipulations, but you don't have the stipulations.
So I would, the motion would read that we need, this is tricky because I don't know the distance in, I don't know how long the driveway is. Because I hear what Jim is saying, if it were 5 feet off the back end of the alley, that would be too tight, because I drove this and it would be hard to see.
Do we want to see that ARC altogether?
Hang on a second, just, if you scroll down, there's another picture of the pad with the car and it gives you a little bit better view. Keep going.
I get concerned with us.
Keep going. There you go. So the fence would be near where in there? Come off, but then it would come out. And then if you're coming down, if you're driving from right to left in that alley that then makes a turn, you've now got an obstructed view with a 6-foot-high fence. Because even if it's a 5 feet of solid and 1 feet of lattice work, in a car sitting 36 inches high, you're not gonna be able to see around that. So that makes that turn even more difficult than it already is.
The catch is, I know you're not gonna like this answer, is ARC doesn't go off of the sight line, they go off of how it looks.
Okay, but we're also talking about how far back off the alley it is too.
So we would come off the setback piece.
If I may, the
I'd love-
guideline says that the fence needs to be 5 feet back from the property, not the alleyway. And that utility easement
Is
is there for a reason. There's utilities under there. So if you allow the fence to go into that utility easement, you need to warn the homeowner that there may be a time when CCD or other utilities have to go in there and take the fence out and maintain the utilities.
Yeah, but we won't have any.
So, I think. This needs to go back to ours. I think understanding that if it's 5 feet off of everything on all sides, then I think that would be more likely to be approved. The reason Park recommended the aluminum, the black aluminum, is because that's what's been used in cases where it's too tight and they need to be able to see through it. I know you're probably trying to get privacy, so that defeats the purpose of it. So there,
So motion to refer back to ARC.
my motion never got a second. So,
Would you like to make a motion to refer back to ARC?
so I would make the motion to deny the
Deny.
appeal. And then we would put the recommendation to go back with an ARC application with a revised, site plan from the fence manufacturer with that 5-foot stipulation. And I think showing clearly that it's coming off the end of like the garage area here, and it's not extending to utility easement would be helpful for her.
And that's to be a new process. That can't be a,
It's got to go through the same part process. So because we're denying the appeal. That would be my motion if I get a second.
a second. Bill. All right. Anything else further discussion? All right, we have a motion from Eric to deny the appeal new ARC application and site plan, et cetera. Second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Abstain. All right, so we have 5 in favor, denying, 1 abstain from Margo. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and you have the last one, and we're not putting these on the board. P28 late up one. I was. I know. H1, the third one of this is light. So this one.
The lights were approved, but we wanted black fixtures and they approved white fixtures.
And so the ARC was submitted for black matte finish for the fixtures, and it was denied. It was approved with the condition that they use white matte finish instead. Management recommendation agrees to uphold based off the ARC guidelines.
So the door hardware is black though, right?
The door and the door hardware, both black.
That's what I'm confused on, because I drove by the house and I thought I had the wrong house.
And we submitted for ARC approval for the door.
So question, is the door hardware approval and this done at the same time? Did it have different color hardware? We tried to do the lights.
Let me go to the light picture.
Because when I looked at this, I actually, they wouldn't have approved the white.
The door, at submission, the door white.
But so in this picture, that door hardware is not black, right?
It changed out.
That was the original and then we.
And now you switch to black.
We got ARC approval and we switched to the bright black.
So I would make the motion to approve the appeal with the stipulation that it now matches the reapproved door hardware of matte black.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the appeal with the stipulation that it matches the reapproved door hardware from Eric, second from Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a comment,
Bill, it's all you.
this was my mistake to say, put this on the,
I liked it. It was fun.
what are you gonna report? Okay, so now we are on the, we are in the approval of minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve
Second.
the February and March minutes.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? February financials, Ray is not here, who's presenting?
So for your February financials, February closed. I was just.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you, Danica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
February closed with a $7,000 surplus, $14,000 in favor of the budget. Excluding capital, the resales, the revenue was $20,000 below budgeted. Year to date, we are at a surplus of $32,000. The current operating fund is at $322,000, reserve fund at $695,000, and capital fund at $2.5 million. Based in this regards, this is at a corporate comments.
Financials? Sounds good. Don, you up to speed on everything?
Yeah.
What's the new comments?
Yeah, I'm just having a forum with the finance committee here, so.
It's all about accounts receivable.
Yeah.
Just when you go to bed tonight, think about accounts receivable and get it collected. Whatever you can.
All
All right, put that in the
We
minutes.
get $1 million over there. We need that liquidity.
Okay. Rentals committee and partner updates. Why don't we just go down?
Finance, that was a
Finance.
get the money.
Yeah.
Got finance, we've been meeting and, thank God we have these guys, great team and, it's about timing also. Collecting and timing. It's gonna be a challenging year, and I think this board needs to understand, recognize, it's gonna be, challenging year. And we really need to watch our costs.
How is the Astoria plan working out right now?
Cross your fingers when you go to bed tonight. Yes.
They made their first two payments, they made their third payment this month, and they're getting processed.
And are they?
The good news is we're in the right spot on the Ponzi scheme, so we gotta get one collected.
You got put that in the minutes.
We're hanging our hat on this,
We think we're in the right spot for right now.
but we're, we're relying on that, and if that doesn't come through, so. I think we got a positive and negative, which is a good factor to have on a finance team.
Okay.
And so this is a little bit of concern.
Okay.
Moving forward, that's the finance, and then on the covenants, we did, we did 18 properties, we reviewed last, meeting, and, well,
Orders?
5/7 special events update. Go party meet this Friday at Lakeside. From 8 to 10, we go see somebody. This is for the owners, for the first 100 residents who arrive. Oh, it'll be nice. And we have drinks. Dark theme that go tonight will be very fun. Peanut butter and jelly pop-up will be April 2nd at Lakeside and Spring Park. And we also have the friendly allergy food for the kids. The celebration hunt will be at CCFC on April 4th, Saturday, next Saturday. Not the Saturday, April 4th, sorry. 9:30 to 11:30 for all ages. It'll be very fun for the kids. The Earth Day pop-up will be April 22nd at Lakeside Jonas Room. For the Parks and Rec, we don't have we do have an date, but it's not official because we're gonna have a meeting on the Tuesday, next Tuesday, 31st. But we're looking forward to the structure for the opening of town hall. To know the stuff for the. We are approving at the next meeting of the new partner programs. So we're gonna have new applications over there. And we finalized this cover alert for the 30th anniversary last week. We are reviewing the service fee charge for the credit card for recreation house program. We also have the celebration soccer club launched their league yesterday and celebrated the first game together with the showcase of flag football. We have new hybrid of kids for both programs, so CCFC is being well used for both of them. We had a lacrosse program finishing this program and we've beautiful tournament a couple weeks ago. And this is my update.
Thank you.
Bill, tech committee meeting, we talked about, is there some way to use AI technology to help come this process? The idea was kicked over to management to look into the options, being smart to have something. Attended my first ARC meeting. While it was an eventful 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Hopgard, for helping. I make a request to the community that we would like to have 7 members of the ARC committee. So if you know of anybody who can encourage people with qualifications to be on ARC, please apply.
With the
Are we set
charter,
up? Yeah, we're not set up for 7 right now.
we have to
we-
change the charter.
It's 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
It says 5 to 7. Oh, I did look that up. Anything else? That's my lead. Katie.
We did not have a communications meeting this week, or Mr. Clinton.
We had a condo council meeting that I didn't go to, but.
You were at the ARC.
I was at but we didn't have any fireworks, and then, there hasn't been a dog park, to my knowledge, so. But we're looking to figure out about possibly moving that with Parks and Rec, so it's still a discussion ongoing.
I'll have condo council has good attendance and good conversation.
And you have to.
Same there, swear on.
Service areas have their meetings this week. We're wrapping up, I think Thursday, we've got, Island Village, and I feel like there's another one out there. I tried to, what's that? That's not Village, okay. I tried to pop into a few of them. I popped in Charleston Place and Blue Sage, a lot of them didn't have anything show us or for us, but, I think knock on wood, everything is going really well in the service areas. So again, kudos to Alex and your decent team. So maybe very easy.
Those applications are also open.
Yes,
Open through June, open till their next quarterly meeting, which is their annual meeting for service area committees.
yeah. So if you know anyone in the service area that is not, that doesn't have a committee, please, have them reach out, because we'd like to get representation on those. I'll give a quick CJC update also. So Bill, Eric, and I sit on CJC on the CROA side. We appointed officers, so we've got, I'm president, Bill is vice president, Eric is handling our money, Lee is secretary. So we went through that a couple of days ago. The main topic has been the cost sharing arrangement, and we talked about this at the CROA workshop, just about our alignment as a board and what do we want to kind of do with this thing going forward. And I think we as a board are in the position now where dissolution is not on the table, right? We need CJC for various reasons. But we proposed to CROA during the meeting that we would like to dial back the services basically to just the standard. Which then by virtue of doing that, we dial back the cost sharing arrangement to the minimum 36, 37. What is it?
40. Well, it was 43 last time.
43, all right, so off a little bit. So it seemed like we had an okay feeling just in talking to Lee and Mike. So they're gonna go back to their board and talk about what that looks like. There's obviously an unwinding process with that. How do they procure those services? How do they not disrupt anything? And then for us, obviously the finances, the members. So anything you wanted to add?
So I think the key point to stress here is that we have runway with this. So we have to essentially, we as CROA have to notify at the CJC level that we would wish to terminate the cost sharing agreement by June. This is when we have to do that because we want to make it so that it doesn't impact either person's budget within the year. So if everything were to go forward and if we were to do this, then it wouldn't revert, nothing would actually change until January is when that would actually change. But that would also give us enough time to go back and, which is now our next step, to go and work with the finance committee to understand, does this actually work? And kind of what the, because there would be impacts that we would need to figure out. So it's more of, we notified CROA officially based off of our workshop discussion. This is something we want to entertain. They're going to go back to their board and talk, and then we're going to figure out on our side too, financially. And then, but we need to make a decision if we're going to do it by June.
That's all procedures. We missed our meeting with Peggy.
Yeah.
We're going to try to switch that to quarterly. And
Same
that's it. What's Derek? Yeah. So that's all we got. All right. Okay.
We met with Mattamy.
Oh.
And they're highly motivated to start turning over parks as well and townhomes. We projected the first couple set of townhomes based on engineering report and just our own landscaping walks. We're trying to come up with a middle of the road acceptance of the parks. So we don't get a park turned over to us that looked like Olmsted use because they just weren't maintaining it, but we're not taking it over in the middle of the construction zone.
When are we going to start? If you project picking those up potentially?
Well, you have two parks now in A, but they want to start turning over to B, some of them in pieces, probably next quarter. But we're still trying to talk through that.
Are those ones beyond the fence?
Yes.
So those are the ones, not that I've ever gone beyond that, but it looks at, from looking at the road, that they've landscaped the park and it looks all pretty, but nothing is built around it.
Exactly, and that's the crux of the discussion is we don't want to be maintaining a park in their construction zone.
Yeah, right, okay.
Is there anything for foundation or CDD? Or is there CDD? Did you do anything for CDD?
Yes, I went to the CPD meeting 2 nights ago and introduced myself as a liaison, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we're gonna have a better relationship than we perhaps have had in the past. So that's my goal, and that's I'm going to work toward over this year.
All cars. Anything foundation? Like that. at the time. All right, consent agenda.
I make the motion for the consent agenda, noting that D is removed.
Yes. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, so we have student motion to adopt board code of conduct.
we moved,
So we have Marisol celebrating condominiums window ARC minutes plus. Where's our motion here? Is this Joseph?
so this came to ARC. This is a fun one for Bill to step in on, because to Marisol's credit, they're trying to get ahead of essentially the process for window replacement at their building. There isn't really a official approved window everywhere, but obviously condos or multifamily dwellings like this, you want them all to be consistent. And so they came to ARC with, they did their homework. They brought forward the windows and the styles that we've approved elsewhere throughout the community. The crux of the matter comes down to exterior mullions or muttons or however you want to pronounce it or whatever it is. And this has kind of come up a lot. So it's something that ARC had discussed previously, but Mirasol had come forward asking for a variance to not require external divided lights. So ones where they're actually affixed to the outside of the glass. So most of the ones now, if you have double pane glass, they're sandwiched in between. And then we require as additional architectural detail for raised profile to be on the outside of the glass too, to match that. And the Mirasol request was to not have the outside of that and only have the ones inside the glass due to either maintenance concerns or just that it does cost more per window. How did I do?
Okay, so you forgot the safety part.
Yes, there was concern expressed too on if they were to pop off, then they could strike someone below.
So this is gonna be a bad question. This is for Marisol, all of Marisol.
So they're trying to essentially make sure that they can tell their residents which one to use. The process would still be the same. Correct me if I'm going wrong, that it would still go to the board, for the Mirasol board to approve, and then it would still go to ARC, but essentially they kind of want to make sure that we don't go back and forth on this, that we kind of have a already approved window that the board knows that ARC is going to be happy with. And then at the same time, they can tell their residents which ones they would be able to do as well. The same rules would apply, that it would be per unit. So that's kind of how we've done it with other multifamily dwellings, where if someone's going to change out the windows in their unit, we would want all the windows to be changed out. The exception to this is if we were to allow them to not require the external profile, those external lights, then it obviously would be different on the exterior structure before we switched all over.
How do we memorialize this? Like, how? Is this a motion? Is this a resolution? Is this what are we doing specifically to give up?
So from a technical perspective, this is a variance. So it would be a variance, the same as on a regular home that we would want to do it. I have concerns that this opens up the can of worms that we would then not have it anywhere else in the community. Because if you set the precedent for one building that they're not allowed to have it, well, then why is my house any different? Vice versa, we've kind of always, this has been one of those things that ARC has held firm on in the pattern book, that those exterior lights have always been required.
Would we like to hear from our town?
I would love to.
I'd like to hear from both parties. We have Jeffrey House and we have representation from.
I'll start with Jeffrey.
History of the buttons.
So, the history of the buttons on the exterior windows has been in place since day one. We've had it written in the pattern book from the very beginning. And it's actually been a battle the entire time, because we've always had windows since the 90s that have interior buttons and no exterior buttons. So we've always required it for builders to install it, and we've required it for replacement windows as well. So it's been consistently upheld the entire time here. Architecturally speaking, it would have an impact on the visual character of the building that it's on. There are a few windows that we have seen in Celebration that had been installed without approval. And in fact, the approval identified that it had exterior mountains, and you can see them once in a while, usually in the back of an addition or garage or something like that. And you can definitely tell the difference when a window only has that interior mutton between the glass. And personally, I think it would deteriorate the quality of the way the value of celebration is perceived. It's one of those character things that adds shadow and depth to the window itself. The cost of these things is not significantly high. To do the muttoning between the window is about $7, $10, $12. And I've talked to 3 vendors in the last week, and they're all consistent. The exterior mutton applied, factory applied, is between $15 and $25, depending on the manufacturer. When you have a window that is, and that's per light. So if a window has one single mutton on each side, there's 4 lights in a window. So, you know, the $15 difference for 4 lights would be $60 per window, essentially. If it has 6 over 6 windows, it's much more. So you could end up spending, you know, $200 more per window on a complicated window that has a lot of buttons in it. And that adds up, you know, but windows today, replacement windows are often, you know, $15 to $45, $50,000 to replace the windows on your house. I just had my personal house repriced, and it was $30,000 for 16 windows. So that differential is not huge from my perspective. So, you know, I also feel like it's a little bit unfair to all the people who have invested previously in exterior buttons, to go ahead and allow the depreciation quality on any building. So I do also feel like it would be a dangerous precedent that we're setting on a very large building. It's very prominent too in location and celebration. Those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Dix. And we have representatives from Marisol. Yeah, if you want to come up with.
You want to speak, Marcia?
Sure.
Madam President.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, board, everybody, management. Thank you for all you do to start, volunteering for this is a lot. She knows. This is Donna Habersham, the president of the association. I'm Mauricio Moran, the current manager. Everything that he said is pretty accurate. There's a flip side to that to you as well. We have a 5-story building, and if you include the penthouses, it's 6 stories. And it's a condominium. Okay, so it's not a single family home. I can certainly understand a single family home. 2 stories. You have plenty of space around. It's your own private property. We have shared space and very, very, very tight. We have a very active older community, very active pedestrian, walking dogs. A lot of people that even just, we're not gated. A lot of people even just come through Marisol, just, you know, trespassing technically, but since it's open, they drive through and they walk through or bike through. The concern is that these onions have been falling off by themselves without warning. You know, we have terraces on the 2nd floor on the main building, which is the 6-story building, and they're ended up on somebody's terrace. Imagine you're just sitting down enjoying your terrace. This thing comes flying from the 5th floor. It's not very safe. Just the entry bridge, which is one of the pictures I showed. We have a pedestrian walkway that came off. Thankfully, nobody got hit at that instant. We also have one way in, one way out, which is underneath that bridge unit. Also came off. That's the walkway right there. And then there's another one that's over one of the terraces. Luckily, that's only the 3rd floor. But that's a terrace. That's somebody's terrace right there. The picture before that is where the vehicles come in and out of. If it falls on either a guest or even a homeowner's car, obviously that can cause some damage to somebody's window. The back one there is from the 5th floor. That's the back entryway that came off and ended up actually over here. Cut off over there and ended up over here, and that's our pool. So if it swung this way, thankfully we have a palm tree there. But if it swung this way, that's our pool area. So my point is that primarily it's a safety concern. Today's, nobody's gonna look up and know the difference from a fifth, fourth, third, fourth, fifth floor and say, oh my gosh, those are inside and not out. We only have 26 units that are 2 stories, 26 out of 210. Everything else is 3 stories or above. It's a significant part of the community that is above three stories or above. So technically, you're only gonna be looking at the ground floor. Driving through, you're looking for parking more than anything, but it's primarily the safety concern. Never mind the added expense. Homeowners are gonna be investing in a condominium that they're sharing the space with, and it's already a big investment. Never mind the safety concerns.
The last one that came off is not in this picture. It came off Sunday, the 15th at about 5 o'clock. We had a really bad rain and wind. I don't even know where it came from, but what we found was broken piece all the way towards that parking lot.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And again, we're trying to go through this so that we can set up a guide and tell our homeowners that these are the 2 options. It's gonna be Defender series. It's pellet windows, by the way. These are the windows if you want to see them. It's gonna be pellet series. It's either the Defender or the Hurricane. It's only 2 options. It's the only one that comes in Venetian bronze. Those 2 options come in the Venetian bronze to keep the same look. And the Hurricane is obviously impact glass, which is one of my questions actually. If the board does consider this, the approval of these windows. To my understanding, the windows have a slight tint to them. That tint can be in different colors. I would prefer that it doesn't have a color, but then they told me that it wouldn't meet the energy levels
The heat in and the cold
for the
out.
cold and the heat.
Cold in, you won't have the same effect.
So I would probably say the lightest possible color is like a smoky gray, to not have, I know there's a blue tint, there's a green tint. We don't want any of that in Marisol. So that wouldn't be an option for us. But that has to be discussed as well. I didn't actually put that in the application, but for an approval as a part of setting a standard for Marisol, like these are gonna be the acceptable windows. You can choose from one of these 2, basically, is what we're trying to get ahead of, homeowners, which are really starting to knock on the door and say, hey, we need windows because they're 20 years old. Some of them don't stay up. Some of them you can't open, they're jammed. It's become a situation. Maintenance side is also a big factor because these are gonna be double hung, so they can actually fold in. Homeowners can actually wipe them down. Because the windows on the 3rd floor, 4th, 5th, you'd have to get a window washer and, good luck with that. To wash your windows, you have to get a boom. You can't hang from the roof. That's not an option. So they're constantly dirty. When you have those munions, that dirt and grime stays in there and you're constantly looking at that as a homeowner. So if they're inside, that problem is eliminated as well. These people are investing over $400,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment or 1-bedroom condo in Marisol. It is a high standard. It is a luxury unit. We want to keep that, but at the same time, today's day and age, they don't make a single pane. It has to be double, which we're looking forward to for noise, for energy, etc. But it's functionality, right? It's 6 floors up, 3 floors up, 4 floors up. It's a big difference from being a single family home and having that requirement. I can understand, or even a townhome community. I can understand it's only 2 stories as well. They're joined and stuff, but they're easily accessible with just pitching a ladder up. It's pretty simple. Condominium is a little bit different ballgame. So that's why we're asking for the variance.
The ones that could not be replaced, the ones that are missing in the pictures, we couldn't find anybody to replace them from the outside. And so people put tape on the window, which totally understand.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So
I can pass this around if you want to see the difference between the exterior and the interior. It's the first 2.
So as long as I've been on the board, I don't recall us taking on an issue like this, looking at their condos.
You have an artisan part, we've done it with fans with them and with their windows, trying to set a standard before they start making those changes.
Okay.
So it wasn't for much.
It wasn't for months, no,
It
it was
wasn't for
for
money
the,
specifically.
it was for the tint on the windows.
Yeah.
And then it was for fan size, blade count and color.
Yeah, I mean, I understand we're the ultimate,
Us, or could it be TCC?
we ultimately have, yeah, my question is more just around procedure, not so much the design, but
So I have a question, and Jeffrey, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but on commercial structures within the community. So like I'm thinking of the hospital, so or Windsor, for example. So those appear to be external. So I'm talking about buttons only at this point.
Yes.
Those, they have an external one, correct, on those? Okay. And I think, I know one of the pieces too that has come up is the original exterior divided lights in some of the older homes, mine included, because I ran into this even in Artisan, was they weren't actually affixed to the window. They were clipped. They fit into a little notch on the outside. My replacement windows, they're glued. Yeah, they're glued on there. And so they're an integral part of the frame. To the point where we had one that was off a little bit and they couldn't fix it. They had to switch out the whole the glass back on it. So I think, to me, I would not support getting rid of the exterior buttons for this. I would want to retain that, although everything else is part of this with establishing the right type of window, the right type of the tint and everything. That all is good in my opinion on it.
We consistently said that the tint should be a charcoal or dark color, not a blue or green, so that they're right on track.
I appreciate Jeffrey's comments, both of you actually, but I think we need to go back to the basics, back to the pattern book, and the defining things to make celebration, and that's one of those things. It's the intangible things, and I would support Jeffrey and his comments.
Marco, Bill, Marco?
I think what Jeffrey said makes sense as far as consistency, I think is important.
Yeah, I agree. So how do we, what do we do?
I'll make the motion to deny the window ARC variance request as it relates specifically to the buttons. However, everything else in it, I still think should move forward with ARC as a guideline for them to use.
Wait a second.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Excuse me, I did have one more question, I'm sorry, that I didn't bring up. If you did deny it, which you did, I thank you again for your consideration. What about the interior? Would that still be required, or can we eliminate the interior in between the two panels and just leave the exterior now as the standard?
We've never required it.
Yeah.
Never required interior.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in between the panels, right? Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or sorry, between the.
Between the panes, that was required.
Okay, so that's not required, just the exterior.
Usually when it's factory installed, they do the inside and outside, and you have a choice whether or not to do the spacer bar that's in between the two glass feet panes. So if you look on their choices, you might find that they don't offer only exterior, they don't do it on the inside pane or the inside, inside the house.
Charge you more money.
Right, and then they offer the option for the spacer bar.
Okay.
That goes in between, which is usually the upcharge.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Okay, let's evening, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's move on. So we've got the motion to adopt the board of conduct for an action item B.
I'll make the motion.
Katie, discuss this at the workshop. Any concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next one, we have the motion to approve town hall, nope, we started that, motion to approve boundary and topographic survey of Lakeside Playground area by Johnston Surveying LLC in the amount of $7,500 for our operator.
I'll make the motion.
Marco, discussion?
Just a question on this one, how far back does this go? Because we own all the way back beyond to essentially where that tree line is,
To the tree line.
to the tree line. Okay,
But then it becomes CDD property.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, with Diane working on this, we bid out to the CDD main surveying company. And they politely said they did not want to do this because of the conflict of interest and borderlining CDD.
Oh, good for them.
I have a request on, maybe it's not part of this, but maybe it's like for the workshop or something in regards to it. I think we need to set a budget for the project if we're gonna be starting like approving the site plans, or site survey. So this can also fall into that budget and that it's not. So I don't know how the board wants to do that.
So we were kind of talking about putting a budget conversation in front of the board after we get this survey, because this survey is gonna tell how much additional civil work needs to be done.
Okay, so that will be part of it too then.
So but to Katie's point though, my question then is that the survey, if the surveyor is already out here, there's other things that are planned for Lakeside that we've asked the question on, like enclosing the jump, like moving that, yeah, exactly, that area. Does it behoove us to get the whole thing done at once?
Do we know what we want to do with the Jones room though?
We don't, but we're gonna need a survey either way.
Sure.
Even if we don't do it. And to Katie's point of coming up with an overall budget, I would rather than know that could, I mean, because we could do a survey and they could come out and say you can't do anything with that anyway, and that kills the whole discussion to begin with.
So if we're going to amend the motion to also add scope to, there's probably gonna be some incremental cost.
Yeah, you could just approve the vendor and adding scope.
So do you want to? Do you want to amend it to add?
Define the scope of
Did I
like
make
straight
the
line.
motion?
You made the motion, so do you want to amend to add the scope for?
I would amend the motion to not exceed,
Is it 75?
to 10.
The topographic part of the survey is what your wife is seeing a bit of a higher cost, and it's more than just the boundary.
So what?
Oh, so let's wait for a second. Do we need that type of survey for the rest of
Yeah,
Lakeside? The topographic survey?
For building renovation?
Hmm?
Not for building renovation.
Okay.
So we could add scope of just boundary survey for the remainder.
for the remainder of the property.
So we'll give you the authorization for this motion, and if it doesn't need it, then
Yeah, I just don't wanna like request more than what we would, the
Yeah.
minimum, like the minimum.
So what is that?
Topographic for the playground, because we do need that, but with the remainder, we'll ask them what the bare minimum we need is for a renovation project.
I'm sorry, it won't cost you less money.
No,
No,
we're trying to figure out the cap.
Since they're already out here,
Okay.
rather than.
Just so we're not throwing around
I would-
arbitrary numbers.
so my motion would be not to exceed 10,000. And if it comes back at greater than 10,000, then it needs to come back before the board.
All right, so you revise your motion not to exceed 10,000. Marco, will you second that?
I second.
Okay. You guys are clear on?
Just one question, are you talking about all of Lakeside Park or the front section?
Sorry,
behind the Lakeside sign?
front section from the sign area,
And
including
Great
the lawn. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
From sign to Great Lawn.
What master
So
plan
not the
was
tennis court.
considering for phase 2?
Exactly.
Okay,
Is that, would that?
I thought so, I just wanted to make sure that the expectation wasn't the fuller greater Lakeside Park.
So clarity on topographic, does this mean the ground itself is suitable for building on more samples and things like that, or is this just the elevation?
I think it's drainage.
Surveys just elevations.
Just
Yeah.
elevation.
Don't worry, it's
Yeah.
anything separate.
So we don't know if we've got
So
a,
geotech.
well, not a geo, so we don't know if we got a sinkhole somewhere that we can't build on top. Yeah.
Undisturbed soil.
Yes.
If you have
Good on that.
drainage.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay, all right, all in favor of the amended motion for $10,000?
Aye.
Opposed,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed. Thank you. All right. All right, we didn't, so let's get motion to approve battery replacement services for NEV C1 and C2 by Advantage Golf Cars LLC in the amount of $7,555.10 for a reserve fund.
I'll make the motion.
Eric. Second. Marco?
Yes.
Okay,
And now we can discuss.
Katie.
Yeah, yeah. My thing is two things on this. One is, as far as the reserve fund spending, we just, accelerated a couple vehicles out of reserves. And originally, the thought was 3 for maintenance, 3 for community standard. If 2 of the NEVs were going to be kept for community standard, my thought is then we really only needed, we did 5 trucks. My thought would be we really only need 3. So for this, we got 5. So 2 of those extra trucks for the time being, my thought should be to go to community standard. And since we're pretty much over budget in vehicles for reserves at this point, that's.
I want to start by thanking you for moving that action to an item. Just for transparency for the board, we were based on how the meetings were going previously, any of these items that are under 10,000 reserves that we decided to put under consent for the moment of if the board wants to move it up to action, we would it would be easier than always adjusting the agenda backwards. So thank you for that. And I'm going to just say we respect that and understand it.
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's why it is how it is. So with your discussion with vehicles, I can understand it. My only thing to add in consideration is that plan was with replacement of NEVs to trucks. So it's replacing vehicles. That plan was expecting that then all vehicles that are inside the plan are remaining operable. And that was also part to get the NEVs that we're keeping to operation. So in current state, the NEVs they cannot be used. So by moving this over, we would still have vehicles in fleet that are not operable. So we could do that, but it would remove those from maintenance and essentially removing vehicles from a department, whether it's a NEV or not, it's still leaving them short the vehicles. The amount is in line for the battery replacement inside your reserves, which is a separate line from vehicles. I do understand what you mentioned.
So we had 9 NEVs, 6 were replaced, and we were trying to use as much of those parts to get the other 3 operable. These 2 need additional batteries.
Have we had success in having someone come out and diagnose the larger problems with the NEVs? So this was an outcome of the.
Yes. And we're getting the rest of the diagnoses from the others that they said they should have to.
So there's potentially more stuff coming for these remaining ones that are in operation.
The other ones are. You should not be seeing anything else coming to the board to get the NEVs that we are planning to keep operable.
Okay.
The other ones, we're getting the diagnosis so we can say, buyer beware, this is what you need to spend on.
We're looking to
get rid of them.
Yes.
So I want to be clear though, when I read through this isn't actually a battery replacement. I want everyone to understand a little bit of the mechanics here with this. This is the lithium switch out with this, correct?
Yes, split the battery.
So there's components that go along with that then get replaced. It's not just the batteries, it's also the controller and the charger that then are flipped out with this, which then become under warranty from, I assume, these people for 8 years.
At a prorated basis. I read the warranty, it's prorated. It's a limited warranty. My concern is we've decided to get out of the NEV business by buying these 5 vehicles. We can't use them in Iowa Village. These vehicles, I did some research on, they're worth $5,000 to $7,000 in good shape. They're not in good shape. I don't think putting $7,500 in 2 vehicles that are worth maybe $10,000 is money well spent. And considering our financial considerations, I don't think this is good.
How long? So what's the projection for keeping these? What do you all? How long of useful life do you have on these?
They're not operable right now.
If we do this,
We
how long?
haven't seen any consistency in NEV repairs.
These could be gone in a year or 2, potentially.
That could provide us.
And they didn't give us anything, aside from just the battery, it's the big stuff. So, okay. Yeah, I agree. That's just,
So, okay, we decided not to do this. So, the motion would fail. So if we vote no on this, we don't do the battery replacement, then what? So because then I think the question then becomes, to Don's point, if we're getting out of the NEV business, we would then, I would expect that you would come back to us from a management perspective at the next meeting and say, we need to buy 2 more trucks.
We would have to figure out some vehicle, yes.
This is where my confusion is though, like,
These are the 2022.
yeah, I saw that, in January, the ask was for 3 trucks for maintenance. And 3, crossovers, the
Tracks.
tracks
Yeah.
for, community standards.
Mhm.
And so it's 6 vehicles total. We ended up voting on 6 and 1 for community stand, then it switched to 1 to community standards and then 5 for maintenance.
Because we were trying to rehab the 3.
That was with our finance workshop discussions, was trying to choose how is the best way to do it. And it was assessing what vehicles are in best condition, the 2022 NEVs and one, the NEVs being used for community standards and were in the best condition.
But I guess I'm confused on how we went from needing 3 for maintenance to 5. Because the January motion said we needed 3 trucks for maintenance. But then at the last board meeting, the motion was 5 trucks for maintenance. So I'm wondering like why it increased. And my thought would be, I voted no on the 5, I voted yes on the 1. But my thought would be, if it was up to me, take those 2 extra to go back to what was proposed in January and let community standards use those 2 extra vehicles for the time being until we figure out, is this, do we need 2 extra to purchase 2 extra and not invest any more in the NEVs? But obviously with the finances right now, I just don't think that's possible either.
I almost wonder, does it make sense to put this to table this, put it on the workshop? Because I'll be very candid, I'm still not clear on the fleet plan. Like, I understand we approved everything, but I'm still not sure. I've heard like different accounts of like who's using what vehicle
Let's
for
take
what.
it to the workshop. We'll have a detailed layout of
That's just
what
my.
vehicles are what vehicles are getting phased out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
It's.
We have a motion.
$7,000.
So let's call the question.
We have the car, there's a problem, we have to fix.
Oh, I'm with you. So we have a motion on the table to approve from Eric and Marco. So let's call it.
For $75 million.
Okay, so let's call the question. We'll call the question. All right, so all in favor of approving?
5.
But 3 opposed?
And
Opposed.
Or against doesn't pass.
Doesn't pass.
Doesn't pass, okay.
So I would
Make
like
the
to make a new motion, that well, no, we don't, because this motion now no longer exists. I just want to add this to the workshop.
We will do
And I think that we need to then get to Charles' point, a fleet plan, and I'm talking like old school.
Yes.
Like, can we have a picture of each little vehicle and
Like who's using it for how many hours?
well, and I think too, it's also to the point of, look, Island Village is huge. When we get back there, we're going to need to make sure that we have enough to be able to support everything there too, as we move forward. So I think it's not just a right now needs, but it's what are we projecting in 5-10 years?
I think, yeah, and to what you both said, something that really shows us like what's going on, because I feel like the conversation changed a lot,
Yeah,
like over multiple months, and I'm so confused and like to see this, I was like, wait a minute,
well, I don't, so this is not, in my eyes, this is not management. This is just, I don't think we visualize like what that plan looks like. We've just been doing these kind of in silos in isolation, and it's like, okay, what did we approve? Like, we knew we approved the 5 or whatever, but like, now we've got these, and now what are we doing with these things? And I just think seeing the thing holistically will be.
We'll get you a
well,
timeline.
picture.
We'll get you a timeline, big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, great. So we have now motion to revoke amenity access for accounts on the 90 days past due delinquency list as of April 1, 2026.
I'll make the motion.
Eric, second. Marco.
The only question that I had was this doesn't include anyone from Astoria, correct? Okay.
Yes, as long as they're
Because they
making their
made their-
payments, they
yeah,
retain
okay.
their access.
Okay.
I have a question, in 90 days, is that the That's the
Yes,
threshold.
that's the quickest we can do this.
We can't do six.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does someone want to do CROA fee waiver and non-compliance, double motion?
I'll make the motion for the CROA fee waiver and the non-compliance.
So,
Eric and Katie. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, discussion, 851 town hall meeting room AV options. Who wants to take this?
Should we table this for,
Well, you want to spend a couple of seconds at least, probably, or we can kick it to the workshop, whatever you think.
well,
Is it
I
time
would
sensitive?
say, kick it. No, it's not necessarily time sensitive, but I would say couch this with the action item that was removed and we take it to text.
You want to?
I make a comment?
Yeah.
We're in the construction phase, the final phase, so if we're not deciding on the AV yet. Let's make sure we have the conduit and the things in place, so we can upgrade later on ancillary, tearing walls out and moving things around.
That's
So
what's
we got the forethought of that.
Well, the drywall's already there.
Yeah.
Should we just present, do you want to
Should have joined the board a couple months ago.
present what was given? Like,
I think it should go to tech.
So are we gonna be ready to talk about this at the workshop? When is the tech
Tech
committee?
committee is the first. The second, it's right before the workshop.
So,
So they'll have had a discussion on the topic. Maybe we can call a special meeting of the tech committee.
but we can still do, because of the, what are we voting here or just discussing?
Well, I mean,
We can discuss it same day, like we
We
don't
can
have,
discuss it, yes.
so why don't we just, yeah, as long as we're not voting on it, we're
Yeah.
okay, as long as it's not noticed or.
is this time sensitive at all?
Is it
for that conversation.
So why don't we preemptively put it on the agenda as an action item? And then if it isn't there, then we just kill it. That makes sense?
Yes.
If the tech committee is not ready with a recommendation and we react, well, do we preemptively prepare the presentation? I guess we can until.
guys-
Confusing myself.
I don't know.
We'll,
if we
we'll
need-
put it on the appropriate agenda based on what happens at the tech committee.
Great.
Okay.
All right, good, all right. Multifunction court. Yes,
As part of the design process, JBB Architect and KPM Franklin have provided the 60% drawings, which are in this packet, which we can review after this. For the multifunction court project for CROA reviews. While these drawings are not yet the final construction documents, they represent a stage in the design process where the general layout, program elements, and key factors are intended to be confirmed before advancing into the final plan set. This item is presented to provide the board an opportunity to review the proposed direction and confirm that the project may proceed toward the final design phase. What you're going to see here is in line with what Joe presented, with no adjustments to the plans outside of some small KPM drainage, moving a pole adjustment a little here or there, design elements, but not core function elements.
You're just looking for a thumbs up.
Yes.
yeah, I'm good.
Basically, any changes after this, we're gonna cost more money.
And thank you for communicating that, by the way, a few weeks ago.
Can I make a comment?
No, I'm serious, no. Or do we want to, we don't, what do you want?
Up to the board.
I'll make the motion
I
for
have
the
a
knowledge
question.
member of the
Yeah.
All right,
audience.
all right, you're acknowledged.
I'm on the master plan.
Yeah.
Yes,
We didn't have a meeting this month. So I would say that before this goes to the board, it goes to master planning to at least have a discussion.
So this is the same thing though.
This is, yeah,
This is already,
This is what I
this
think
is
Joe
what went to
presented,
the
right?
master plan committee before.
And this is the same plan that Joe presented on the.
Okay.
When he's looking
plan.
for approval.
Just so we don't
wants final
deviate.
board approval, and we're making it abundantly clear to everybody that future changes
it's just
cost
for
money.
alignment, just so we don't come back and say,
This is a
oops,
formality.
changing our mind. Never mind.
All right.
I have one question then. What is the projected timeline for next steps with the drawings?
They are, I want to say, next 2 months to finalize drawings.
It's a month, yeah.
Yeah.
What's taking a long time is civil.
Okay, so they're thinking like the end of April.
Their original goal was end of March, but there were some delays, and now probably April. We have our public.
Yeah, it's basically, it's gone about 2 weeks late, mainly so we paused it so we could have this conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm curious. Okay, thank
I mean, they're ready to roll through the final processes on after this, but this was the one moment to make sure that that's the right path.
Anyone else? Good. Okay.
So it's a motion to approve as it is.
No,
There's no
no
motion.
motion.
They just kind of want to know if we had a giant
So,
flag. and
we're all good, right?
It's like expensive, yeah.
It's like, we did this with the town hall design, and said, this is your last
No,
chance.
it's,
and no more
it's
response.
just so we're not changing our mind. Okay, management update?
I mean, we all did very well with the committee updates. Outside of that, we have one current inspector position open right now. I'll just leave it to the board. Are there any questions relevant to the update provided inside the packet or any questions from?
Why the splash pad close today?
This flashlight closed today for unexpected diagnostics. When activated, it would run and immediately shut off. Our internal team was able to run through the diagnostics of the first, check this, check this, check this, and that was able to bring it back online.
Okay. Is it related to the filter housing thingy issue or different? Cool. Okay.
One thing though, I think that hopefully residents will kind of start to understand my son's older now, but when he was younger, we used to frequent splash pads throughout the whole area. And they are all temperamental because you're dealing with so many different things. There's so many times we go to the Dr. Phillips one and it wouldn't be on. And that's just kind of, it's like an expectation, splash pads are like that. I think this is like the first amenity that we have that, could be temperamental, it's not like the pool, it's not like the playground, So I think there will probably be, pauses in running. But I also think it's really good that management sends out these updates to the community so parents don't just show up because my son and I would show up at Dr. Phillips and it wouldn't be running. But at the same time, people are kind of like, oh no, it's not working. But it's but that's kind of that when you get a splash pad, that's kind of what you're signing up for too. It's how it is. But usually, like you said, it's a short fix.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And also, I think it's good. I think it's a good message to the community that we're in front of these things because it's a 600, this is a very large thing and things break and the expenses are large. So it's good due diligence and it's good process.
I'll say on that, it is massively more complicated than our pools and pool pumps. And for that reason as well, messaging like today, it just says that it's closed. Is often, we tried to, I went and tried to say, hey, what is it? What is our timeline? And unfortunately, when things happen like this, we can't provide those more descriptive timelines like we sometimes can with pools where it's easy diagnosis, it's a part and the part's expected. These are often the diagnosis, and then since it is brand new, it's the going to the warranty companies and all having those conversations. So just a little patience on that with our transparency on expected open dates if these things occur in the future.
No, I much appreciate us over communicating, even in the eyes of everyone gets ticked off and it highlights an issue. But I would much rather say, hey, it's down, even if it's an hour, like it really was today, and then it comes back up. Because to Katie's point, then you don't end up with someone going out there getting
And
upset.
I think residents will start to realize it too. When they see it's down, they're gonna realize, oh, it's a short thing, I'm sure, so I think people will start to.
On that, with our internal recognition as well, we've been doing a lot more recognition of our maintenance team because of the amount of this. It is just something to bring to the community and board's attention that this amenity has requested a large unexpected demand of maintenance technician time. Every day, multiple hours of our maintenance technicians. Luckily, we have multiple CPOs trained on site inside of our maintenance team, which is allowing us to go through these processes faster and deal with it more in-house. It wasn't as expected though, that we see such large pull from our internal staff for this event.
Sounds like we need another breakfast soon with these guys. Just, I mean, I think that hopefully goes a long way toward our appreciation of everything you do. The landscaping. So I know Brian was here at the last meeting to talk about kind of the state of everything. Is there anything, I mean, it looks like things are knock on wood starting to come back.
Yeah, as it goes to the improvement projects, most of those that we approved for this kind of Q1 are at that night, are either complete and finalized, or they're just waiting on, a lot of it is just waiting on sod, which as we've been communicating, we're just holding till sod is at a more desirable point to receive and install. So we will be looking at probably in May, bringing that as your consent and future consent for more parks and more of those projects that were already discussed in plan.
And CBD put out something I saw about the prompts, so that's what's got me to think about it. But it seems like knockout things are starting to bounce back. Hopefully, looks a little rough out here.
I do also have questions, but there is, and this is a good thing to keep promoting, that we haven't spent a lot of money on cross repairs. A lot of people think immediately that the town will have to or has been spending a ton of money on plant replacement. Just harsh cutbacks, and observation is there's a few things, and it's mainly just small perennials that aren't, didn't take well to and are going to need replaced. But we're looking at we're monitoring that closely to keep it inside current budgets and not seeing any extras due to that cause.
At meeting the other night, they mentioned that CROA got particularly hit hard versus CCDD because we got a lot of south of them.
Yeah.
They were optimistic that most of them would come back. I had a question on warranty items and preventative maintenance. I was at the workshop the last time you guys approved the $12,000 for the hot water instant hot. Our water here in Celebration is notoriously bad. And I've installed or worked on dozens of these things in my businesses. They work great, wonderful, but we need, maintenance. So we need to have a preventive maintenance schedule in place, or maintenance guys trained on how to bed flow and clean those coils out every year, or we'll be replacing them in about 5 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the plan is.
That is already inside their plans. They do that in-house on most of our water heating units. It's an annual drain of them and clean.
But do they have instant hots currently, or just new?
Instant hots will be new, but they've worked with, when that question came up, our maintenance teams have worked with them before on their larger resort.
Because it's much different than a hot water.
Yeah. But so that's it. It's already, outside their ongoing maintenance. A lot of what the maintenance team does is that kind of maintenance plan, keeping up with items and thank you.
Anything else? Metrics. Everything looks good. Anything we received? They don't discuss. No. All right. Board comments. Keep up the great work. I just echo what you said. Work done. Any comments from you?
No.
Welcome done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Okay.
Sitting there on two.
With board.
Yeah.